Hey, good people, it's Sammy Ashe, Executive Director of the Ashe Academy, and your host of our Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. We thank you so much for tuning in once again. This week, for our nonprofit highlight, we've chosen Dreamcatchers for the Soul. They are committed to nurturing the lives of all children by offering self-discovery practices such as mindfulness, yoga, tai chi, and other self-care tools. They provide these tools at schools, foster homes, shelters, rehab facilities, youth detention centers, and other youth organizations. This is a 6-week program geared to under-resourced communities. More on their focus areas, they include internal emotions, mental health, anger management, suicide prevention, trauma, bullying, and obesity. So if you'd like to learn more, get involved, and donate, go to their website www.dcfts.org. That's www.dcfts.org. As always, tell them we sent you. Now let's get started with the show. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Ashe Academy's Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Ashe, also the Executive Director of the Ashe Academy. And today we are joined by Vegaz Taelor, LA-based singer-songwriter and creative direction, and also one of the very first friends of the foundation. He actually created our logo and all of that. So we want to get into all that you do, but we do appreciate you because you kind of were the first one to get our branding together. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
It's been an honor. That's so cool. That's so cool to see it on your shirt, man. I never.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
the hoodie, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Um, so go ahead and take us like all the way back with your background in the arts. So like, how were you exposed to the arts? How did you get to become an artist?
So man, take you back to the beginning. So first, my father was a member of the Platters, 1970. So my father's a singer, and I definitely would say that's how I got exposed to creativity and art. My mom, she designs clothes also. So growing up, I just always was around creativity. My dad was directing choirs, and I was always in those choirs. My dad was singing at like the national anthem at the Jazz games in Utah, so I was always going to those games. So from a young age, I always was around singing and creativity. Um, that moved me into visual art. So I started to love to draw. I started to love to like paint. I had this huge fascination with like skyscrapers. So I would draw out cities. And, when I was a kid, I would play like with the 3D home games where you build the blueprints. That was like my fun. So I would sit on the computer and I would build homes. So that's always kind of been my thing. So yeah, my dad, I would definitely say was a huge inspiration, and my mom, for me, to just be a creative.
Awesome. Do you have any teachers you could shout out from along the way that kind of helped you kind of refine that artistry?
Man, so I have to. I just don't want to miss any because there's been so many, man. For certain, Jadon Point Dexter, well Waller now she just got married, and Liz Faye, they were my high school teachers in Chicago. English teacher Liz Faye, and then Jadon actually she was never my actual teacher, but she found out I could sing, and she took me to like this practice room and was like, "Sing for me now. I'm gonna take you to this producer." And she took me to this production company, and that's when I started actually recording my own original music. So I gotta shout them out for certain. Mr. Bogle, my seventh grade choir teacher, Dr. Miller. That was my sixth grade choir teacher. I was in sixth grade, but in show choir and concert choir, which was for seventh graders and eighth graders, all throughout middle school. So that's by way of Mr. Miller and Mr. Bogle. Shout out to y'all. I'm trying to think any other teachers. Got Keisha Smith. That was, she'd be so mad if I said her first name, got Keisha. She was one of my counselors in elementary school that I really I've not been able to find her, and I really want to, but she made a huge imprint too. So If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry, but those are ones that off the top, I know I have to, show some love and shout out.
So like when did you know kind of in your adult years or maybe like through college years that like this is something you want to continue with? Because everyone has dreams like growing up, but like what kind of gave you the staying power to push through?
So I would say, so really what made me make the decision to come to LA, I tried out for X Factor. And at that point, prior to that, I tried out for Idol, America's Got Talent. I was doing a lot. And the production company I was working with at the time, we weren't moving as fast as I wished. So original content I was recording wasn't even being released. I remember just wishing that a song could get on YouTube. Like, let me just put it on YouTube, please, just for people to hear it. So, when I didn't make X Factor, I made the decision that I was gonna kind of create my own opportunity, if you say. I was like, you know what, I'm done relying on people. I'm over it. It created almost like an anger in me, where I was like, no, this is mine. I'm gonna go get it. So that's really what made me make the big move. Was being told no too many times. I was tired of hearing that. But what made me believe in myself and what made me really stand firm in it, I would just say, you know what I'm saying? Like when you and people find out their purpose at different times, and it's still unfolding and unraveling for me as the years go on. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I've always felt the most powerful doing creating. I always have felt the most powerful. I haven't done well with relationships and any of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the only one out of 8 who don't have kids. Like, I'm just everywhere else. It's crazy. Like, I'm just not, together. But I've always felt the most powerful and the most received in that way. And I would also say for sure my the environments I've been in. My parents. They allowed me to be creative and express myself. You know what I mean? They supported it. So I think that also added on to my belief in myself.
So important, the parents, support the parents.
Yeah, man.
So what would you say is currently your purpose? Would you say it's ever ever unraveling and changing? Like what would you say right now?
My
Especially
purpose,
with all going on in the world, you got to find your purpose and got to figure out why you're here.
dude, I think my purpose is to help people understand themselves, help people not be scared of getting to know themselves, even in the worst ways, being able to utilize all of that to um, do something with it, whether it's create, whether it's play devil's advocate, and know how to treat somebody better. I think, my goal is just to get people to just see themselves a little more clear. Because I'm at that space.
So, so what would you say is the most challenging part of being an artist?
Comparing, and also constantly creating and not completing things. I think you're always like just looking for the next, instead of just like locking in on one thing and seeing it through. It's for me, I'll spend money and I'll go to the studio and I'll, record, and a week later I'm tired of that song. But nobody's heard it. You know what I'm saying? I'm already like, I'm done with it. I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like nothing ever, it just takes a long time just to complete things. And for the reason that I'm constantly creating. So I think the hardest thing for me is, just getting things. I wouldn't say getting things done, but just taking my hands off when it's time to. Yeah, not
We
being.
have to let the people know that we have worked together. I am a musician too. I can totally see why some artists, like some of our favorite artists, take so long for certain projects. Like, oh, it's been 8 years. I can see that now. After many years of creating and abandoning projects and saying, you know what, maybe this wasn't the best. or even with the reception when you finally do release things, something that might have been your least favorite song on the project, someone's like, "Oh, I love that song." You're like, "Wait, I don't. What? How? When was that the
Wow.
favorite?"
I just have to shout you out, Sammy. You are an amazing songwriter, man.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
remember hearing a record you did with Steven. Shout out to Steven James. I remember
There we
hearing a
go.
record that you did, and I
Mhm.
didn't know you. And I was just like, man, who is this dude? I'm connected. You know what I mean? I'm connected. I haven't even met him. I have to meet him. And then when I met you, we got along perfect, you know,
There we
because
go.
I'm extroverted. You know, you're a little more reserved. So I think I say the things that you want to say, but you want to say them. You know what I mean? You want to say them. So I love that art can like translate like that, you know, and it's good to experience it being an artist and have it happen to me, because my hopes is that when somebody, you know, hears my stuff or whatever, you know, they feel that same way. So I just got to shout you out, man.
Thank
You know,
you. I
shout out to
appreciate
Seven.
it. Appreciate it. So have you had any situations where like people are listening to your music and like you're having to battle your like internal thoughts of whatever you think of it versus what they're saying about it? Like
Yeah.
what is that process for you?
So usually I feel that the most if I'm playing something that's like not mixed and mastered all the way. And you know, you got to make the disclaimer like it's not mixed and mastered, or you know, I'm adding some in. I have some in there that I know I want to take out, or a vocal that I want to redo. I
Mhm.
kind of force myself to play it, you know, just so I can get back honest feedback, even if I know that there's something I'm going to change. But oftentimes, you know, I want to like defend it or say something, you know what I'm saying, which is whack. But I think it happens the most then, um, you know, when I put it out. So to be honest, I'm around a lot of phenomenal singers, you know, and there is a difference between a artist and a singer. A lot of people don't realize that, you know what I'm saying?
Tell us the difference. What how would you define the differences?
So a vocalist and a singer, I think, knows their instrument and they know how to interpret music. They know how to perform. Um, that doesn't always mean that it's theirs. You know what I'm saying? A lot of
Yeah.
times, a lot of singers are covering artists' work. You know, they just know how to express. However, I think artists sometimes they're not the strongest singers. You know, however, they know how to facilitate and execute and create the art that people cover, you know, or create the experience that allows people to connect. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like all the artists we've aspired to be like, Prince, Beyonce, whatever. You know, we watch them on TV, MJ. There's just that it factor that just like we're like, oh, I know them, you know, and we don't even have to hear music sometimes. Like, you know, there's some artists I hadn't heard their music. That wasn't the first way I was introduced to them,
Hmm.
through like a trend or through, you know, social media, where I just saw people posting them and their look or something that, you know, it just I related some way. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think artistry and singing are two different things. And you know what I was gonna say to that is I know being around a lot of singers sometimes, I will play something and automatically in a minute, if it doesn't have a lot of riffs and runs and you know I'm not running down, it's kind of like I didn't give enough. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But for me, I'll sit there and say to myself, well, did you hear what I'm saying? What I'm talking about? Like, did you listen to the lyrics? Are you listening to the story? You know, artists tell stories. You know, we create the stories. I think singers tell them. That's what I would say between the two.
Hmm.
Artists, we create the stories, and singers, oftentimes they just tell them.
So do you believe that to be a spectrum though? So like you embody like a gray area of both, or where are you now if you're in a spectrum of the two?
I would say I'm in the middle. I would say I'm in
Oh,
the middle for sure. I think that when you are bridging that gap between the two, that's when you have a career. And I'm not just saying that for myself. Just because I say I'm in the middle. I think most artists that stay around, I think have a little bit of both.
well, Awesome.
I
Uh,
believe.
so people or kids or teenagers coming up that are looking to get into this field, what kind of advice would you give them, for better or worse? Like, go ahead and tell some horror stories that you've been through, or some really great things that you'd like to share with people.
So I would say give yourself time. That's the first thing. Give yourself time because there are so many layers when it comes to the industry and the work um and 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 even just stepping out of just solely creating and looking at strategy and different things that you need. I would say you have to really give yourself time to understand that, because just trying to get it all at once, you're gonna shoot your foot before you even start. So I would say give yourself time. I would say, um not to sound cliche, but you definitely can't trust everybody. I think that to elaborate on that even more, I would say let them show you that first. There are times that I think we're so used to hearing about Hollywood and LA and everybody stabs each other in the back and this, that, and the third. And I think sometimes people project that, and then they come into an experience where somebody's looking to just be fair, and greed gets in the way and all this negative energy, and sometimes it's not even that, you know what I mean? So I think you should not just trust everybody, but you should let people show you who they are. And when they do, believe it. I think be professional, be on time, be early, um, believe in yourself, believe in yourself, but also do your homework, study the charts, listen to music, listen to what people like. Um, what else would be some good advice I'll give somebody coming into the industry? Learn your own way. There's no blueprint to this. There's no, XYZ. Like, there used to be PR, there used to be labels and, all these things that don't really exist as much. Artist development, So I think that you have to figure out your own formula and what works for you, and just make sure that you're always presenting that to people. You're a brand, so that is still a thing. You're still a brand, but you got to constantly be presenting something. It's fast food. Our attention span is like one, two,
That's
three.
being able to, kind of adjust to whatever's new coming, because we have seen, I guess, with just the advent of YouTube over the last decade, or maybe even more than it's probably 15 years, pushing 15 years, but that has changed the way that music was received. I remember TRL, and then as soon as YouTube kind of gave everybody access to these music videos, we kind of stopped going to one show to view things. 106 in Park, like you didn't have to wait and run home after school to see something anymore. It was like, oh, we could just log on. It's
And
available at
get
all
it whenever
times.
we want.
Yeah.
It's so
So,
crazy to think that that's a time that's gone, man, and that we can
mhm.
even say, I'm the baby of nine, so for me to even be able to say, like, back in my day, like, that's nuts to me, man. But like you said, I remember that,
Yeah.
like there was something about not having access to it, that just made it so great
Mhm.
and worth the wait when you got it, and just you're dying to get it again. And part of me wishes that was back a little bit, and I feel like we have to figure out a way to get some of that back.
Mhm. Well, we kind of are forced to now with some lockdown. At the time of this recording, we are in various lockdown phases.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't allowed to be around each other, so we're looking for different ways. Kind of the blessing out of that is that I'm able to connect with people I haven't seen in a while, to do these interviews and whatnot,
Yeah, man.
connect on Zoom. But in what ways have you seen it being a positive, that like things have adjusted over the years, and kind of the new normal of the music industry? Um, like what change that happened is like a good thing for you that you actually appreciate?
I like having direct access to people, cutting out a lot of middlemen. So again, there used to be labels, PR, artist development, all these things, that I think were good for the machine. But however, the con to that, especially being a Black artist, I think that you had to play by their rules, and you couldn't really tell a story how you wanted to. I think that what's good about how things are now, if I want to, put out a certain body of work that has a certain narrative or a certain sound or whatever, that's influenced by just me, I'm able to just do that. You know what I mean? So I would say that's the biggest advantage. I look at like artists like, again, I hate to say it, with B and Michael Jackson, artists that have been very successful, Black artists, let's just be honest, who have been very successful. And I think early on in their career, they had traits that were very white. You know what I mean? They had to have straight hair and lighter skin. And, there were things that I feel like were only deemed acceptable by a label or a business just to bring in more people. And you look at things now where people are able to show who they really are. Like again, B, now at the height of her career, she's pro-Black because there's no middleman. She rocking her cornrows, her braids, got the baby hairs out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know what time it is, So I think that that's what's awesome about right now is we have the ability to tell our own stories, how we want to tell them.
Awesome. So how big does ownership play for you? Especially if you can own your ideas and all that and take credit for it.
It's important, man. And I think, me being forced into like the independent artist route with my experience with like Idol and all that, like falling through and the production company I was with, I've been forced to kind of wear multiple hats and kind of do multiple jobs. You know what I mean? So that being said, when I walk into the studio session, I'm working with a producer. I'm walking away with my stems, my masters. You know what I'm saying? That's always a thing. I'm editing my videos. I'm, editing my photos and the content that's going out. I'm doing that myself. So I think ownership is very important in creating, because this is different. The music industry is different. I can post something on Instagram and somebody screenshot it and take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so easier to take things. It's not like going to Chick-fil-A. I can't bite into the burger and know the ingredients. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different business. So I think it's super important to create. To own your creations. As far as like ownership with other things though, like property, that's important. But like cars and stuff, I've recently started to think like, I don't really want to own a car until I'm ready to. I'd rather just lease, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like value is gone right when it gets off the lot. I don't really know about that. Owning a home in LA, I don't really know because you gotta so expensive. You know what I mean? Certain things I don't want to own, but your creations, they are yours. You gotta own that, baby. That's yours.
What led you to transition, not that you're leaving it behind from the music side of things, but into the visual art side of things?
So I, again, have always had a strong love for visual art. And even when I write songs and stuff, I'm always thinking about the video. You know what I'm saying? And the colors and the things that, so for a while I was just putting out content and people would see it. And LA is a town full of artists. It was always like, well, how do I get that? How do I? So now artists want me to work with them, and helping them in their branding. And so, just through me putting out my own art, I think it started to turn into me working with other artists. And that was something that I didn't even know that I loved until I started to do it, because it's like when you're working with, it's almost like you're working with somebody's vulnerability. You know what I mean? You're helping them express themselves and showing them the best way to be themselves. I've really enjoyed that, and especially when it's artists that don't fit that cookie cutter image. It's not like no thin girl, no thin frail girl. we a little meat on our bones. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we make it work. We make it work. It's because, like, you know, it's you. And there's again, there's just a it factor that people have that you just can't really, you can't put your finger on what it is. You know, it's just authentic and it's theirs. So yeah, so visual art, music videos, editing photos. I always kind of had a passion for that. In high school, I took courses. I also went to school for web graphics, so I got my degree in that. Then I went to school for music business, and in that time, I learned about like marketing and things like that. So, and the crazy part and how God work is crazy. I was just doing it. Like, I didn't really have a plan. My mom worked for DeVry, so I went for free. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Like, I didn't even really. I was just going through the notions. At that point, it was just me being the artist. Like, that's all I was thinking, and how to utilize it for myself. So for me to later on see that it would become this, and you know, a skill of mine, you know, it makes sense. So I just always had a little niche for it, man. I just
Awesome, and you have incredible work. So
thank you,
you're
brother.
definitely doing the right thing. We appreciate it. So what would you say is the most rewarding part about having that kind of creative control of someone's, you know, vision, their brand that way?
It's creating a trust, you know, it's creating a trust and aligning me with, again, what I feel like is to be my purpose. And ultimately the benefit is, you know, again, not to sound cliche, but to be in a world, live in a world that I want to be in, you know, where the narrative and the things that people are saying, the conversations that we're having, we're really learning from them and creating spaces for people to feel comfortable and feel like they can be themselves. You know, that's ultimately how I want to live my life. So I think that to have the ability to contribute and do my part, I think that it's super rewarding, man. And have somebody come up to you and be like, yo, like, I need you. Like, you literally made this happen. I see myself. This is great. Like, I feel confident, you know. That's super rewarding, man, you know. And I love to do that for myself also. You know what I'm saying? I love to look back on something and be like, you know what? I like that guy. You know what I'm saying? I like that guy. I like those colors that I'm wearing. I like that, you know. So yeah, that's the most rewarding part, man.
Perfect. Um, I we will be discussing this and kind of the different ways that we exude confidence. But kind of how do you stay confident in yourself, um, in general? Because it could be daunting. It's the arts are a very interesting field where kind of your baby is up for critique.
Right.
So
Right.
if people aren't receiving it well, like, how do you say, well, like, that's fine, and
Oh.
whether you like it or not, I'm still confident in it.
So I would say to that, I so I definitely have a lack of confidence sometimes. A lot of times, all of us do, right? So I definitely have that. But I think that, again, when you are tapped into something that like you feel like it was given to you, um, there's just a sureness, bro. Like, I'm just certain that I can always tap into something and it come through for me, you know? So I think my confidence is my relationship with God, to be honest. Like, that's my confidence, man. Like, I think that, you know, when I believe that these gifts are his and not my own, I have no right to, you know what I'm saying, question it. You know what I mean? It could only get better. It could only be for somebody, you know? So, I would say
Us
that
shouting in
that's
here, you're gonna have us shouting out a little praise.
man. I was like, I gotta,
You
you know, it ain't my mama, it ain't my daddy, it's the Lord, you know. Yeah, man, that's it. That's really my confidence, because when it's me, I'm not confident all the way. You know, I struggle with, you know, my voice, and I struggle with, like, is the song catchy enough? And, you know, I struggle. But then where I always feel like it's enough is when I remind myself, but it's yours. And it's because you're on it. And that's what matters. And I'm like, Dang, that's crazy. That's crazy. So that's where my confidence comes from, man. And I think I also my confidence comes in from how I treat people and how I treat others. Um, and I just have felt well received. So I think that also adds to it, when you just go out into the world and you want to be a good person and again have honest conversations, and really just try to treat people right. It makes it easier to look at yourself in the mirror, you know what I'm saying, and kind of feel like you're doing this thing right. I may gain a couple pounds, you know what I'm saying, but I still know I like this guy in the mirror, man. This is a good guy, you know.
So I was going to ask you, what's the best advice you have received? And you don't have to name drop because you know some influential people. We won't do all that to you. We're here to talk about you, but you don't have to say who it was from. But what's some of the best advice you have received?
Mm-hmm. So I was working with a contractor one time. Um, no, I've worked with this contractor before, and I got another gig with another contractor, and I wasn't feeling very confident in it. And I don't want to quote him incorrectly, but pretty much what he said to me is that what's for me is for me, and the people who are put in position, meaning the other contractors and the other people who brought me on this gig, were placed there by God, just as like it's like chess, just to move around for me to do what I need to do. They were placed there for me, So I think from that I was able to take away, okay, man, like they're just part of the plan for me. They're just part of the plan. So there's nothing that even they can do. Like, this is mine, period. There's nothing even I can do but choose just to sit up, and have my way and sit up in the ball on the bed, you know what I'm saying? Which I'm not gonna do. So that I've had so much good advice, for sure. But that really was a moment that I think a light bulb switched. And I was like, man, they just part of the plan. It don't matter how hard they try. I'm gonna be in the building. That's it. So yeah, that's some of the best advice I got.
Awesome. I was going to ask you a question, kind of leading off of that. Oh no, how do you work through that? So in the moment, because before the lightning bolt goes off or the light goes off, um, you're not so sure in that. Like you have to get to that point. So working up to kind of being sure and being confident in that, and that what's meant for you is for you. What are kind of the struggles in there that you've experienced?
I think that's where valuable relationships come into play, where you're able to talk to somebody and confide in them, and just weigh out things and get perspective. Which in some moments where God really don't want me to do that, nobody answers their phone, and it's literally people who always answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you literally always answer the phone for me. So in those moments, I have to pray, man. I have to pray to recenter myself. I have to pray, and just get clarity. I know some people meditate. I've tried that. My attention span is a little short. So like they'll be like, open your eyes. And I'll be like, oh, my eyes been open. I don't like my eyes closed as long. I'll be changing positions. Yeah, man. So I gotta pray. And sometimes like I pray and I go to bed. I wrap it up for the day. I wash my hands, because what's for you is for you. So I gotta get to tomorrow. Let's go ahead and just wrap it up. So I think that confide in people that you trust and that love you and aren't just gonna tell you what you want to hear. They're gonna tell you the truth. And then pray always. Pray.
All right. On the flip side, what's some of the worst?
Some of the worst insight or
the worst advice. Yeah, the worst advice someone has given you.
It came from everybody that I worked normal jobs with when I was working normal jobs, basically saying, that I should look into staying in the company and, You know what I mean? Kind of like not necessarily going after your dreams because it's not safe. The music industry isn't, it's a it's finicky, which is true. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But just basically trying to be too realistic. Um, and I didn't listen. I didn't listen. So that's been some of the worst advice. It always came from people that I worked with who were scared, who never, and I feel bad, you know what I'm saying, who never got to have the luxury of um, pursuing their dreams or have, environments that supported them doing that. It always was, especially men, always was like, yo, you got to get these 6 figures, get this job, this, that, and the third. Women like, hey, you got to, be a mom, you got to be ready for your husband. You know what I mean? So I think that I didn't have that. So a lot of the people that it comes from, it came from them. As far as like specifically something, I can't really think about anything specifically that somebody has said to me as far as creativity. Um, and I've been like, man, that's just horrible advice. And if I did, I shut it down so quick I can't even remember.
So how can you kind of tell some of our viewers kind of some ways that we can shut it down? Because the way that you're not able to pull anything, you must have had a quick
Oh yeah, the clap back quick. See,
for
the
me.
thing is, when it don't feel right in your
So
spirit, you just know. When it doesn't feel right, and you can tell somebody's giving you advice from a place that is, it's almost like it's very emotional, like it has something to do with them. I'm
mhm.
like, I what I would suggest doing. This is really the way. If you have it in you to show them some grace, just be quiet. Just give them a just let them say what they have to say, because that literally is, they need that. That's how they are able to get through their day. They have to do that to people, which sucks. Also, if you don't have it in you, you got to tell them about themselves. I mean, I had a couple, I had to do that too. You're not going to do that to me. That's not that. What you are saying right now is not for me. That's for you. That's not for me. That's not my walk. I'm sorry. I know what I know, and can't nobody tell me different. I know what I know. People who love you, once you tell them that, it's a wrap. And you know what? I'm sorry. I do got somebody. I've had somebody very close to me, like family close, tell me that, I was just supposed to be in the church and music wasn't for me. Um, even telling them that I felt the most connected to God through creation and music. It still was like they know what's best for me, So it wasn't until I was older that I really had to again tell them, I know what I know. And there's nothing that you can say to me. When you tell me that you know what you're supposed to do and you know your purpose, I'm me as somebody who loves you, I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you've gotten to that place. So for you not to be able to say that for me already tells me you are somebody I'm not supposed to listen to. You have nothing for me. But for me to just know what I don't want to be like. So I would say you feel it and you know it. And if it's not going to move you forward towards the things that you love and you feel connected to, then don't take it. Don't take it. Don't listen to it.
All right, this is the Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. So we do have some questions very specific to those things. So let's get started with that. Who is your biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration. Okay, like, are you saying
You can
artist wise or just
go
life?
with your gut. Go with who.
Okay, so my mom, of course. My
All right,
mom, of course.
and
Like,
why?
she is a
Expand on
black,
that.
she's a black woman. She is strong. She's been a single mother forever. She supported me. She's had the means with even little to give to still have enough to reassure me and reaffirm me being so much. I'm so much. I'm a creative. I'm a black man too. You know what I mean? I just know that, you know, I can be a lot to deal with. And I can only imagine as a child. So just to support me, you know, I came out here to LA at 18. You know what I'm saying? I'm now 28. I'm about to be 29 in a couple weeks. Isn't your birthday coming up too?
No, it was back in May.
Oh, I'm tripping. My bad. That ain't you. Uh, but like to even think that she could just let me do that, you know, because I worry about her a lot. Like she my child, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just really appreciate who she's been in my life to allow me to be in the position that I'm in right now. You know, I know my dad. I just got to say, hey, dad, because I can't shout out my mom and not say you. You know what I'm saying? I lived with my mom though. I that my parents split and I was mainly raised with my mother. So, yeah, I've just seen her go through a lot. You know, I've just seen her go through a lot. So she
Shout
is,
out to Black moms.
yeah, man, hands down my inspiration.
Awesome. So, who do you hope to uplift with your work?
I hope to uplift people who are seeking to know who they are. They want to know who they are, and they're not scared to. Um, you know, the message I would hope is for everybody, but specifically people who really want to know who they are. You know what I mean? I think there's power in uncertainty, but still walking, you know what I'm saying? Like walking in fear, walking in faith. I because a lot of people they don't know who they are, but instead of finding out, they just want to act like they do. And you know, they go out and just do damage, put on face, you know, and it looks good, but you know, it's they never know. And they're searching later on in life when it's, I would hate to say it, but it's a little late for it. You know what I'm saying? So I am just always looking to pour back into people who are on this journey and not afraid of it. And it particularly, let's just be again very transparent. I think Black men, because I am a Black man, you know, um, I love when we are on this journey to really discover who we are. You know what I mean? And really redefine who we are. Black people, Black women, you know, women, period, men, just yeah, everybody, man, who's willing.
Awesome. And then, how do you stay engaged with your motivation?
Prayer. That's it. Prayer. Um, but specifically like engagement, I'm on Instagram a lot, so I'm watching. Um, Work calls for that. So traveling too, that helps. Um, you know, just to see different people and even just putting yourself in environments. Like I'm the type to go to a restaurant. I'm experience obsessed, right? So I go to a restaurant, I'm like analyzing everything, like, oh, so they got the temperature right here for this reason. So when people walk in, they be like, oh man, this is great. And you already geek because you know the temperature is cool. So now you're gonna be more willing to say yay or okay to all the food. You know what I'm saying? Like just dumb stuff that I think like nobody else would think of. So I feel like just putting yourself out places where you can just like just watch. I just like watching stuff. I'm a people watcher, you know?
So, I know we usually don't do any follow-up questions on that, but this is very important. How has it been since we've been kind of on lockdown and quarantine? If you're kind of your passion, your motivation is really tied to being around people. How has that been?
Oh man. I go out on drives daily. I'm outside still. Like I'm not like putting myself around people, but you know, I went to San Francisco, I went to Arizona, I rode the PCH. Like I really took advantage of this time. So there was a week like I was really like it was tough, you know what I mean? Because I was inside and you know, I was just like, oh my God, like I'm just watching the news about the virus, corona, like that would drive you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But it you know, because even Instagram and movies weren't doing it for me. At a certain point, I'm like, I don't want to scroll anymore. I don't want to watch movies. So I have been creating, and I've been going out on runs. I've been on the phone talking to people, having conversations. It's been a lot to talk about in this time. You know what I mean?
Got
So,
nothing else better to do. Let's talk.
so that is a thing. That's a thing. That's why that's how I've been able to stay tapped in. Before this, I was traveling a lot. Like every week I was on a plane, different city, sometimes two in a week. So yeah, it was good to sit down for a second, just kind of, recenter.
Did it happen at the right time for you? Were you doing too much moving around, do you think?
Oh yeah, no, it happened at the perfect time. We definitely, it was time for us to, be on pause for a bit. Yeah, it happened at the perfect time. It definitely did. I mean, this is even a lot, but I'm just being, me, I'm just being transparent. Even like with like hair and maintenance and stuff, I was around people so much that I didn't have a chance to really like look at myself, and be and make sure I'm looking the way I want to. You know what I mean? Like hairstyles and all that. I'm just like, yo, I'm just always going,
Yeah.
So for me to be able to sit up in my room, it was about a good 3-4 weeks. I was looking rough, bro, like super rough. It was good for me. It was good for me because I just needed to let myself have that, I
Yeah.
locked myself in here. Ain't nobody see me. I'm just like, bro, let's do it. Let's do it. I did put
All
lotion on
right. So
every day,
what?
though.
Oh, you gotta moisturize.
Look.
Drink your water too. Um, what's next for you?
Mm.
What do you got coming up?
So what's next for me? I am right now working on an EP. And again, just narrowing down records, it's so many. Um, I am also working on a video with every song, so I'm just looking to release that as a visual project. So that I'm working on right now. I've been building like art installments and stuff, and Corona actually got in the way of that because like I had places booked. I've paid people, like, so I'm just kind of resuming that work at this point. I'm working with other artists, so just kind of building those relationships and attaching myself to dope projects. And then obviously I'm working with Sunday Service, so right now that's kind of on pause until we know what that looks like. But that would be another thing that I would definitely be looking forward to resuming once I am able to.
Awesome. How has Sunday service been so far?
Man, it's been awesome, man. It's been really dope. Like it's like no gig I've ever had. Um, I think what's special about it is it's built a community, a collective, of people, of artists who all of us have moved out here on our own. Majority of us, I'll say, to you know be the artist, be the front man. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been about me, and kind of just only seeing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what this has forced us to do is work as a collective together. And that goes against everything that people have said the music industry should be. And on top of that, it's ministry. And of course, everybody has a lot to say about if it's real or not. And it's real. It's real ministry. So who would have thought that traveling and seeing the world and, friendships and all these things that have come from this would, one, come through ministry, and two, the music industry on top of that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy. But the truth is, that's how it should be. Well, who created that? It should be different. Why is God not the dopest thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think church trauma and stuff is real. And the way religion and all that has been spoon fed to us has kind of jaded our perspective on like religion versus relationship. We're focused on relationship. God is not perfect. God is perfect. We are not perfect. he's perfect, so we don't have to be.
Gotta clean
So
that one up.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was like, oh my God, no, he's perfect. So I think that to be able to now bridge that gap and create in an honest way, and it's not speaking tongues necessarily. I can talk about an experience I had that's real and honest, and talk about prayer, and that could sound like normal hip hop music. That could sound like, what I'm saying. It doesn't, or R&B or whatever. It doesn't have to be so, quote unquote, gospel, just inspirational. You know what I'm saying? God is everything. So this really showed me how I can still minister in a way that is different. Sunday service showed me that. So, and has given me some awesome relationships, man. I love the collective, and I love my brothers and sisters in that collective. It's some real friendships that's come from this situation.
How important is community to you?
Man, that's everything to me. That's everything. I'm always thinking about, like, if it's my birthday, I'm thinking about, the party that I'm putting on for other people. You know what I'm saying? Instead of it being about me.
In the room, right, when they get in there, how they feel and how.
Yeah. What's the temperature like?
Yeah.
So we can get in this menu. They're gonna like everything.
There we go.
But I think that, I just believe that, like, what is life by yourself? You know what I mean? And granted, we come in this world one way, we leave another, cool. But what is life by yourself? I just think it's so dope to share experiences with people, and to learn from them. And, it's just super important, man. It's just super important to me.
The whole reason to have this podcast. So that's very full powerful for me. Thank you. How can people get in contact with you, stay connected with you, give you all them likes and follows? Send them where to go, the websites too.
I'm here for them all. So Vegaz Taelor music all across the board. VegazTaelor music, MUSIC. I just had to do it, That's Instagram, Facebook, website, Twitter, which I'm never on. I'm really on Instagram the most. So I'm very engaged there, and I love to talk to people. I love to like pictures and comment and laugh at memes and post them. I'm here for all of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vegaz Taelor. We appreciate you. A friend of the foundation, one of our very first, so we will always lift you up and appreciate your name. I am Sammy Ashe, the Executive Director of the Ashe Academy, and this was yet another episode of the Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Bye.